Alrighty, here we are. We are in lesson 6, which is all about CSS and using style on your web page. So what we're going to do, this is day 2 now. You've got your notes started, and what I want you to do is again go to page 15, actually page 16. Get to this page in your notes. Pause the video if you need to, so everybody's ready to go. So last time we talked about how you have your content of your web page, the HTML provides the structure, and then CSS provides the style. So as you started to investigate how this all works, what we want to do is make sure that you understand what a rule set looks like. So I'm going to draw like a squiggly line across here because this is going to be kind of what a standard rule set will look like in CSS. Okay, so here's an example. First, you have to have what we call the selector. So let's just say I was going to do all of my paragraphs. So I would do the letter P, leave a blank. Then we have that curly bracket, okay? When you type, both of them will show up. If you type the left bracket, both of them will show up, and I usually say hit enter, split them apart. The next thing you need to put in is some kind of property. All right, so let's just say color. Put a colon, and then here you put a value. Okay, and since it's color, type in something just as simple as red or blue or whatever. Okay, following this comes the semicolon. The order of those two is important. If you don't include those, sometimes it might work, but if you add anything after that, it will start to cause your program not to run. The stuff will turn pink, all right? Now, you could put the curly bracket here. Typically, you'll see it on the next line. That way, if you want to keep adding properties, you can do so. But will you identify these 3 parts this way? So this first thing is called the selector. This is the HTML tag that you are going to format. This, where I have color, that's what we call the property. So are you doing font size? Are you doing text align? Are you doing color? Those kinds of things. And then finally, you get some kind of value. In this case, it's not a number, it's actually the name of a color. Okay? So notice what it says here. Okay? It says go to page 5 and record the properties you've seen. So that means what we're going to do next is head on back in your notes once you've got all that written down, and pause the video as you need to. We want to go in your notes and find this part. Just like you had pages before, right at the beginning for HTML, here's where we're going to start adding probably some of our most used CSS properties and values. So the first one you saw was color. Okay, what does it do, or what does it change? Okay, it's going to change the color, basically. The default is always black, and so in order to change it, default is black. So in order to change it, you have to specify what it is. An example, something like red. Okay, there are tons of colors. In fact, what you will find out is, besides the names, which are kind of crazy, those pop up when as you're programming it, a bunch of names will pop up for colors and choices. But you can also program the colors using a command called RGB, which we'll explore a little bit in the coming day. But there are over like 16 million colors, almost 17 million different colors you can program. Okay, cool. Leave this next line blank. All right, then you started to see, actually when we were just getting going, you saw a couple things with text. So let's get those next. I don't think they've had you practice too much with these yet. So the first one I want you to jot down is text-align. And you'll notice if you just type text when you're in a style sheet, you'll get a whole bunch of stuff to pop up, but almost all of those have a dash, and then you get a ton more choices. There's no way we could ever list them all. I just want to give you the ones that you see most commonly. All right, so what does it change? It'll change whether you want it left, right, or center. Okay, and so an example would be center. You can center it that way. All right, another one that you haven't seen yet, but I want to show you so that you can utilize it if you need to, is text decoration, it's called. Sometimes I have to remember where exactly these things are hidden. And sorry, I guess my property column wasn't big enough. Text decoration. Here's where you'll get some choices what to do, but the one that I see that we would use most often is underline. Okay. Once you try it out, you will see some of the other options that are under text decoration, but I use it mostly for underline. All right, leave another couple spaces there because we'll probably add some other things in the text properties here. But let's hop down a couple of lines and then we're going to start some of the font properties. So I'm going to come right about here. Font like text has so many different ones. We put a dash. And the one that you first of all saw was font size. Okay. Font size, it basically just changes the size of your font. That's what I like about CSS. It's very kind of obvious. Okay. It's measured in pixels. All right. Which is why when you put the value in, you have to have px at the end. So for example, you could put 24px and then go from there. Reminder, all of these have to have a semicolon at the end. Maybe I should have done this, like after property, you always put the colon, and after an actual value, you put the semicolon. Okay. Ta-da-da-da. So font size, you've seen. Second one that you haven't seen yet, but you will as you get into some of the extra practice ones, is font family. Here's where you actually can change the font. So you get various fonts to choose from. Okay. And gosh, sometimes I don't necessarily even remember what some of the choices are, but I know that I think serif is one. I think monotype is another. You can play around with this one and see what it looks like, what pops up for options, and then next time I'll give you kind of a resource that will give you a ton of different ones. All right, next. This one is font style. On level 2, you saw a section where you can change the way the font looks. And this gives you an option to italicize the font. So I think it just says italic there. And then there's another one. I don't use this one or haven't seen this one used very often. But if you have a paragraph and you just want it to be a little bolder, but you don't want to change your HTML tag to be one of the heading tags, in here you can come in the style sheet and go ahead and make the text bold, or you have some other choices. Okay, so pause the video to get all of these up, and then we'll put a few of these in action. Okay. All right, I'm just going to play around a little bit with heading number 1 so that you have a demo and can see what's happening. So one of these that I was showing you, and notice when you type font, holy cow, you get a whole bunch of choices here. But you can type font dash and start with family, okay? And notice when I click on it, it already automatically puts the colon in. And then you get a whole bunch of choices here. This is basically for a family of fonts. And later on, we can drill down to get more specific, because right now there's only about 5 or 6. I'm just going to use cursive for an example. Make sure you add the semicolon. But now when you look over here, it's kind of a rounded, almost like Comic Sans look to it. Okay, so there's font family in action. Let's see, font style, font-style. Can play with this one a little bit. When you click on it, you can see that you have a choice of italic, normal, I don't think that changes anything, and oblique. I'll just show you what italic looks like. Just kind of slants it and so on. Okay. If you wanted to align it, text-align, you can see you have center, left, right. There are a few other ones that we can investigate later, but there's what a text align looks like. And then a text decoration. Text decoration will give you the choice of underline. They also have overline, which is kind of interesting, puts a line on top. And then line through is like a strikeout kind of a thing. But we'll underline this one and add that. Okay, so your job today is, as you are continuing on in lesson number 6, you will notice that when you get to level 9, there are a number of them for practice, and particularly there's 8 of them, okay? The trickiest ones, I think, are where you need to actually put in that line that says link to link the style sheet in there. And I want to show you, I'm trying to remember which level this one, on level 8, okay? So here's what it says. You have all this stuff on the style sheet, and yet you're supposed to type this and it won't let you copy and paste. Let me show you a workaround to that. If you click here under Help and Tips, it will show you some information. They've got a whole bunch of stuff in here. But if you go into Style Sheets, it takes you to this pop-up box, and it explains what you're supposed to type in between the head and the closing head tags. And here you have it typed out, and there is where you can copy so that you can come back in on, where was I, on level 8. Let me close this box. You can come here in your HTML file, click on line number 4, which is between the head and the closing head tags, paste it in there, and then the formatting will occur. Of course, you can always type it, but it does have a lot of specific syntax in there. This might be easier. Okay, so as you go to finish, level number 9 has these A through H choices. I want you to do them all right? And then number 10 is the assessment level, and read through that and see what you need to do. Notice you're going to have to set up a link right here between the 2 head tags. You're going to have to start the style sheet here and make sure you have a rule for paragraph. All right, good luck and happy programming.